What's up, y'all? So we have some developments in Trump versus DeSantis, and suffice to say, it's not going well for Ronnie Boy. Not going well for Ronald McDonald.
Who could have known?
Well, yeah, I mean, you've been saying it for a long time. I will maintain that in the wake of the midterms, I stand by all of my commentary in that time frame. But things have shifted. Things have changed now, in my estimation. So, we got two new instances of people bringing up Trump's repeated insults and attacks on DeSantis, and DeSantis has responded now 2 separate times. So Crystal, go ahead, tell everybody what he said, and then we'll discuss it.
Okay, so the first one was in an interview with Brian Kilmeade, which, by the way, I listened to this whole interview so that you don't have to, and it was so embarrassing because they spent 15 minutes of the 20-minute interview talking about his Walt Disney World wedding. I mean, imagine...
What?
Yeah, I know. Imagine having, an actual presidential contender on, and that's what you talk to them about. But anyway, okay, so the one part where Kilmeade asked him about Trump's repeated attacks, DeSantis's response was, quote, I mean, it's silly season. You know how some of this stuff goes. And obviously he does his thing, and that's kind of who he is. He then went on to say, what I wanted to do was just give an honest appraisal of how we got to this point, the failures of the DC Republican establishment, and how Donald Trump was speaking to things that some of the old guard refused to address. And then he went on to praise Trump more after that.
So he says,
silly
this
season.
is silly, and then he goes on to suck him off.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so give me the next one, too. This is the next time somebody brings up Trump to him, he says the following.
It's another Fox News interview, and he said this is being characterized as a thinly veiled shot at Trump. He says, if anyone tried to leak or do anything, we got rid of them. I didn't have a single leak in my admin. You can have the best vision as an executive, but if you don't have people who will carry out that, then it's not going to amount to very much.
So he goes with, you have high turnover in your administration, and you weren't a great executive. You hire people who don't end up being all that great.
Is this your Jordan Peterson
that's his
voice
argument.
too?
No, that would be this.
Okay.
That was Jordan Peterson making some Irish leprechaun or something.
Yeah, it's pretty weak stuff. And the thing is, he thinks this is, and I kind of understand, because when you say something that's critical of someone else, it feels so much bigger than what it is. But he thinks this is some clear shot across the bow. Most people don't even know what the hell you're talking about. It's so inside baseball to even how you have to read the tea leaves of what you're even referring to.
And we should bring up what Trump is saying about him. Trump has not stopped hitting him endlessly on Social Security and Medicare, which is such a potent attack. Because he's right. He's right.
Yeah.
Ron DeSantis wants to cut Social Security and Medicare. It's a massive weakness. It's 70 or 80% of the country loves these programs and doesn't want to see them cut.
Yeah.
He's just hitting them, and he's hitting them, and he's hitting them, and he's hitting them. And then the other thing he's doing is, this is brilliant. He hits him with no, some people are saying Meatball Ron. I would never say Meatball Ron. I don't even like that name, Meatball Ron. So I don't even know why people are saying Meatball Ron. And it's he's not saying it as he's saying it, which is brilliant, because he just came out and he was Meatball Ron, and says it seriously, people be stop.
Too harsh.
Yeah, it's too harsh. But if he's I'm not saying it, then it totally changes it, and he's saying it without saying it. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's just smart. That's just good, effective attacks. You know what I mean?
There's some things he just has a nose for. I mean, the Social Security attack, this is brilliant, not just with DeSantis, but with the whole rest of the field, because now DeSantis hasn't really said yet what his view on Social Security and Medicare is now, but there's so much tape of him and actual votes taken of him backing Paul Ryan's cuts to Medicare and backing similar cuts to Social Security. So you either have to completely flip-flop off of things that you've said very clearly in the past and look weak, or you have to take what is a wildly unpopular position with the Republican base and with the entire country.
I got one more for you on DeSantis.
Yeah.
So, you know how the Republicans tried to repeal Obamacare 60 times, some crazy amount. So one time he voted against repealing it. But the reason he voted against repealing it is because in that particular attempt to repeal it, they still had protections for pre-existing conditions that would remain. And he said, no, we need to get rid of all of it and the protections for pre-existing conditions.
Wow.
Now, Trump also, by the way, supported a bill, tried to get rid of the protections for pre-existing conditions. But as Trump did that, he was telling people, I want to protect pre-existing conditions.
Right.
So I could definitely see Trump leaning into that too when he learns about that.
Yeah.
Like, this guy wanted to get rid of protections for pre-existing conditions. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can see that too.
So
I mean, DeSantis really, it's pretty clear he just goes wherever the political winds are, whatever he thinks is going to be the best position to advantage him. He's tried to, this is also new, he tried to make some comments on Fox News that sounded more like the Trump position on Ukraine, which, the Republican base has increasingly moved towards skepticism on providing any more aid to Ukraine in the proxy war. But he was very vague. It was like a talking point, but he didn't get specific about what he would do differently, would he stop funding, whatever.
He's splitting the difference between Trump and the hawks.
He got pressed on this in a interview he did, a sit-down interview he did with a UK outlet, and he would not say what he would do differently from Biden, and he got kind of snippy with the reporter and was like, I think we've covered all the ground we need to on this, let's move on. So that's another area where Trump is going to be willing to be way more clear, way more forthright, and he's been kind of hitting DeSantis on his previous hawkish stances as well. So I think it's another smart position for Trump.
But I mean, to be fair, I don't think it's as much of a slam dunk as the Medicare and Social Security one.
Yeah, with the Republican base, though, it is pretty clear at this point.
Isn't it like 50-50?
Not anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I see DeSantis has used that talking point of like, we're spending all this money in Ukraine. What about East Palestine? He's used that before.
Right.
But yeah, he's not being as concrete as Trump is with it. So here's what DeSantis should do, and I'm curious what you think of my take on this. He's got to take a few things that are actual, like, no, I'm actually hitting you over this.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with him continuing to do this. Like, I'm taking the high road, bro. I'm above the fray. You can say whatever you want. I'm the serious person. I have no problem with him doing that.
Yeah.
But he can't do it while being a massive cuck. He has to do it while actually punching back. And so my two things I would say if I was him is, number one, under your administration, 200,000 jobs were outsourced. People lost their jobs in the middle of the country. You ran as the anti-outsourcing guy. You were not the anti-outsourcing guy. There was a lot of outsourcing under your administration. What about those jobs, Don? So that's one thing I would hit him with. And then the other thing I would hit him with is, and this is just for like the right-wing base, not the vaccine stuff. Wait, what was it? Oh, fuck, I just lost it. Why does my brain, I always have these colossal brain fog. Look, you're talking now about executing drug dealers. When you were president, you did the First Step Act. You freed a bunch of criminals. I'm tough on crime. You're not tough on crime.
Yeah,
now, that's a dumb attack because I agree more with Trump's position.
Yeah.
And it's not true that like, all these people are dangerous or whatever. But for the right-wing base, I think that's actually a good line of attack.
I agree with you.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I do agree with you, especially because crime has become a really potent issue with the Republican base. So I do think that would be a clever political attack.
So those two things, I would say over anytime somebody mentioned Trump to him and, what do you think of the attack? I would still pretend to do the high road and then I would hit him on those two things over and over and over and over and over.
Well, kind of like, I mean, he could do it in a similar way that Trump's doing the, like, I would never call him Meatball Ron. He would do, like, he could do a similar version of that where
make those points.
Yes, where you're putting those points out there, but you're saying, like, other people are talking about instead of it coming directly from him, which is another classic Trump move. Like, many people are saying, The other one I toyed with, but I ultimately dropped is, where's the wall, Don? You said you were going to build a wall. You didn't build a wall. You built, like, a couple patches of wall. That's it. So, but I ultimately decided against that because I think Trump has talked so much about the wall for so long that even though he didn't get it done, you're never going to convince the Republican base that he doesn't want it done and didn't do everything that he could to get it done. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you have more work to do to make that point.
Absolutely. Whereas the other two, you don't. It's right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Although I actually think the best one is the first, because I actually do think you kind of have to do some work with the base on the outsourcing thing because this is not another just assumption is that the Trump economy was great.
Well, he could use his line that he used when he was like, hey man, check the scoreboard. He could be like, hey man, check the numbers. 200,000 jobs outsourced. That's not me speaking, Yeah. I think, but again, he doesn't have the balls.
I think that requires
for this attack.
more persuasion.
He doesn't have the balls to
try
try these. You know what I mean? But like, take two, because that's what Trump is doing to him. He's got a couple points, and he's just
hammering them.
And
it's very effective. I mean, it's
very effective. It's good politics.
It's the Trumpian version of what Obama did to Mitt Romney,
right?
Where early on they just came out with like making this guy into, you know, the caricature of the rich plutocrat, which,
right,
you know,
outsourcing jobs.
Romney kind of walks right into, but they started with that early.
Yep.
And then there was just no ability to shake that. And anytime Romney did anything that confirmed the caricature, then it was huge news, and it just further solidified in people's minds, like, oh, this is who this guy is. It's rich, out of touch asshole. That's it.
So DeSantis has slipped a little bit in the numbers. Trump is now built up pretty solidly. I mean, he's hovering around 50%. Some polls it's a little less, some polls it's a little more.
Yeah, but the last 4 polls that came out all showed Trump gaining ground.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean,
which is, you know, so it's not like one poll. It's pretty consistent that Trump seems to be improving his position.
Yeah, so I mean, I would still say DeSantis is a better politician than Jeb and Marco and all those people.
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
if he doesn't fine-tune his strategy to what we're talking about, it's good night. Especially since there's going to be 7 other Republicans running, taking from him and not from Trump.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, if you don't sort of... I get the high road idea, I do, but you can't do it to the point where you look weak. You know what I'm saying? You can still do the high road thing and not look weak, but he's not doing it.
They've all got like a prisoner's dilemma because they know that if they come hard after Trump, then he's going to nuke them.
But
and
see,
so they're hoping someone else will do their dirty work,
right.
but no one's going to.
But
like,
the funny thing is, like, I see the logic in one of the non-DeSantis, non-Trump candidates having to really go after Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But for DeSantis, I honestly don't see. I see what I just described, which is like pretend to do the high road, have a couple shots you keep going back to over and over, and then duke it out like that. But like, he's not doing it. He's the only one who's in a position where theoretically he might be able to pull it off, and he's not doing it.
Yeah.
And this is for a long time. I was like, he's the favorite. Trump's self-destruct. But the other thing that we haven't discussed, and we'll end on this, is that like Trump was in no man's land saying dumb stuff 24/7, terminate the Constitution, 2020 election was stolen. He couldn't shut up about that. Then out of nowhere, boom, he stopped talking about it. And now he's talking about Social Security and Medicare, and he's going to East Palestine. And it's like, he woke up one day and was like, oh, wait, let me actually try to win.
Yeah, well, some of us have been saying for a while, don't underestimate him, because those political instincts were still in there, you know.
I mean, I thought they were gone. I thought he lost them while he was president. I mean, he became the One American News and Newsmax grandpa when he used to be the Fox News grandpa. And before that, he was the normie whisperer.
I mean, I know it's totally anecdotal and really may not be representative of anything, but I did think it was quite astonishing when Kilmeade, and I know you covered this too, was in a Florida diner.
Yep.
And he's like, all right, who's everybody supporting for president? And every single... Trump and Nikki Haley, Trump and, you know, Kristi Noem, Trump. He goes over to the one lady who's sitting there with a DeSantis shirt, clearly thinking like, all right, layup, this one's going to be for DeSantis because he's very clearly pro-DeSantis.
Brings the mic right to her.
Yeah, he's like, so what about you? You got a DeSantis shirt on? She's like, yeah,
Trump or DeSantis?
Trump or DeSantis.
She said Trump first, wearing a DeSantis shirt. Yeah.
So if you're in the Florida diner, and even there, they're like all in for Trump, listen, again, it's not like a representative sample, but it's also not a great sign.
I mean, it's his home turf. It's his home turf. This should be the diner where it's all DeSantis.
Yes.
So anyway, there you have it, guys. The winds are changing.